A massive transformation is unfolding above the United States right now, and it's about to reshape the weather map coast to coast. The pattern change we've been waiting on is here, and it's bringing serious consequences. Over the next few days, the atmosphere will flip into overdrive, setting the stage for severe weather outbreaks, sharp temperature crashes, and even the birth of new tropical systems. If you live anywhere from the plains to the Gulf, or along the eastern seaboard, it's time to stay alert, because what's coming is volatile. Right now, a sprawling storm system is rolling through the Ohio and Mississippi valleys, its core dragging a cold front through the heart of the country. On the warm side of the boundary, thunderstorms are firing in multiple states: Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, and we've already confirmed 3 separate tornadoes. These weren't part of a widespread outbreak, but the message is clear. The ingredients for violent weather are in play. Each twister formed at a different time of day, one near noon, one at sunset, and one deep into the night. That's the kind of unpredictable setup that keeps meteorologists on edge. Behind that storm lies an ocean of dry, cool air surging southward into the Great Plains. It's a breath of fresh air, sure, but it won't last long. The atmosphere isn't done yet, far from it. By Monday, another deep low begins forming across the northern tier, bringing with it the first real winter storm conditions of the season. Snow will blanket parts of the Rockies and northern plains, with gusty winds and temperatures plunging fast enough to remind everyone that summer's long gone, and before that storm even fully exits, another disturbance is waiting in the wings, set to arrive by midweek. The United States is about to enter a sustained, rapid-fire sequence of storms. But it's not just the mainland that's active. The Caribbean Sea is heating up, literally and figuratively. A broad area of low pressure is spinning near the Lesser Antilles, and models are hinting it could strengthen into the next tropical storm or even a hurricane. Depending on how the steering currents evolve, this system could aim for Central America, the Gulf, or the Caribbean islands themselves. It's still early, but it's one to watch closely. Let's break down what's driving all this chaos. The jet stream, the fast-moving river of air high above us, has become sharply amplified, dipping deep into the central US and launching strong troughs eastward every few days. Right now, the core of this active flow sits over the Great Lakes, feeding a powerhouse low-pressure system. On its backside, bitterly cold Canadian air is diving south, dropping temperatures by 10 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit in just 24 hours across the Midwest and Ohio Valley. Ahead of the front, warm, moist air from the Gulf is fueling instability, the perfect recipe for severe weather. Today, 2 distinct danger zones emerge. The first is in the mid-Atlantic and northeast, where strong winds and isolated thunderstorms could produce damaging gusts. The second is along the Gulf Coast, from Louisiana through the Florida Panhandle, where a narrow window exists for a couple of tornadoes through midday. The overall threat isn't extreme, but the overnight risk for the northeast is what makes forecasters nervous. Tornadoes that form while people are asleep are always the most dangerous. Between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., low-top rotating storms could spin up near New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and even southern New England. Have your alerts on. This one's sneaky. By Monday, that storm exits through the northeast, bringing a final burst of rain and wind before clearing out. But don't let the quiet fool you. A new system forms over the northern plains, dragging moisture into the Rockies and dropping snow across Montana, Wyoming, and the Dakotas. It won't pack the punch of a blizzard, but it marks the official start of the snow season for those regions. Come Tuesday and Wednesday, colder air filters across the Great Lakes, setting up brisk conditions, with highs barely climbing out of the 40s. The midweek calm won't last because the next storm cycle is already forming in the desert southwest. By Thursday, another low develops across Texas, Oklahoma and Kansas, bringing back the threat of severe weather. This one looks classic: warm, moist inflow from the Gulf, a dry line boundary slicing across the plains, and upper-level support rotating overhead. Expect large hail, damaging winds, and maybe another round of tornadoes from Thursday night into Friday. By the weekend, things dry out again temporarily, but the models show one more major storm by late October, potentially closing the month with a bang. While the mainland braces for an active storm belt, the tropics are heating up fast. Satellite imagery shows a growing disturbance brewing in the Caribbean Sea, a region that's been quiet for weeks but is now pulsing with convection. Warm sea surface temperatures, low wind shear, and favourable upper air conditions are combining into what could become our next tropical storm or hurricane. Forecast models are split, but the potential tracks paint three possible scenarios. The system organises and curves north, brushing the Greater Antilles before moving out to sea. It continues west-northwest, entering the Gulf of Mexico, where it could strengthen significantly and threaten US coastal regions. Or it drifts south towards Central America, though that scenario currently looks least likely. If it does enter the Gulf, we're talking about a potential significant storm, perhaps a late-season hurricane capable of impacting the US mainland. At this range, it's too early to say which path it will take, but history shows that systems forming in this part of the Caribbean in mid-October often have the energy and ocean warmth to rapidly intensify. Back home, the temperature roller coaster continues. Monday and Tuesday bring a sharp drop across the Midwest, followed by another warm surge from the Gulf. By Wednesday and Thursday, cooler air returns again to the northeast. Daytime highs in the Midwest will hover in the 50s, while the Gulf Coast stays in the 70s and low 80s. By the weekend, a more balanced fall pattern settles briefly. Crisp mornings, cool afternoons, and clear skies across much of the central US. As for today's severe weather, two main risk zones exist, one along the mid-Atlantic and northeast corridor, and another hugging the Gulf Coast from Louisiana to Florida's Panhandle. The biggest threats will be damaging winds and isolated tornadoes, especially tonight near New York, New Jersey and Pennsylvania, where a 2% tornado probability has been issued. If you live in these regions, make sure your alerts are active. Some storms may spin up after midnight. By early tomorrow, that threat shifts into southern New England before fading. The storm then races into Canada, leaving behind a cooler, calmer Monday. But don't let your guard down. The next round of systems, both domestic and tropical, is already forming on the horizon. So to sum up, the US is facing a true weather crossroads, cold fronts charging from the north, tropical heat stirring in the south, and jet stream energy slicing through the middle. It's a pattern that guarantees volatility, power, and unpredictability. Over the next 7 days, Foreycaster will keep you one step ahead of every shift, every storm, and every change in the wind. Stay sharp, stay aware, and as always, stay with Foreycaster.